Olá, seja bem-vindo ao Campo Diplomático, espaço dedicado às relações do Brasil com o mundo. Eu sou Katiuscia Sotomayor e hoje recebo o embaixador da Coreia do Sul no Brasil, Kim Chang-woo, bacharel em língua inglesa e mestre em filosofia, teoria social e política pela Universidade de Cambridge. O embaixador está no serviço diplomático desde 1984, já tendo passado pela Dinamarca, Filipinas, França e Quênia. Ele recebeu a medalha de mérito ao serviço e foi vice-negociador-chefe para as alterações climáticas no Ministério das Relações Exteriores do país. Está no Brasil há 3 anos. Welcome, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you, Katiuscia, for giving me an opportunity to have an interview with you.
Now let's start talking about the relations between our countries. Brazil is the source of 5% of the agribusiness products that you import, right? It seems too little, doesn't it?
Because Brazil is a latecomer into the Korean agricultural markets. It is no wonder that Brazil occupies only 5% of Korean imported agricultural market. As time goes on, this market share will increase, I think. In the case of Brazilian chicken, it occupies more than 70% of Korean imported chicken market. This means that there is big potential for Brazilian agricultural products to increase their share in the Korean market.
So we sell chicken, we sell pork, and we probably are going to sell beef, right?
Yes.
And what it has to happen so we can do that, so we can improve this trade?
Since I came here, I tasted Brazilian beef, and the quality is very good. And most of the Korean people will love it. So when this screening process is completed, the Brazilian market, the Brazilian beef will be enjoyed by Korean people. So at present, the screening, we are in the process of screening, reviewing the Brazilian request for export.
And there is another thing happening here now, the agreement between Mercosur and South Korea. Can you explain what's going to happen and how it's going to change our markets?
Since 2018, Korea has negotiated with Mercosur countries about the trade agreement. We concluded 5 rounds of negotiations. When these negotiations are concluded, all the products, including agricultural products, will move into the other side at the very low level of tax or tariffs. This means that the trade volume, including agricultural products, will increase. The Brazilian agricultural products will have more share in the Korean market, I think.
And what about the other countries? How is the relation and the agribusiness in your country and the commercial relations with the other countries?
We concluded many trade agreements with foreign countries. And then thanks to that trade agreements, their agricultural products came into the Korean market, and they expanded their market share. United States, Australia, and New Zealand might be one of the competitors of Brazil in terms of agricultural products. I think that the quality of Brazilian agricultural products have competitiveness in terms of price and in terms of quality. So Brazilian agricultural products will be enjoyed and will be loved by Korean people.
Something that you have in your country that is really interesting and famous is the technology, right? So we can use this technology in the agribusiness. How does that work there?
In 2018, around 2 years ago, Korean IT Center, together with Brazilian counterpart, tested 5 5G technology applying to the smart farm in Brazil. That was the just the experimental start. But we think that 5G is the basic foundation for the fourth industrial revolution. So if 5G is introduced in Brazil, this 5G could be utilized to enhance productivity of the agricultural sector, and that there are a lot of many applications to utilize 5G technology.
And talking about innovation, what can you say about what you have there that we could try to repeat, try to use to, like you have these policies and some practices that we should try and copy?
International community is at present really experimenting 5G technologies. How we could utilize 5G technology is really a question of we are entering into the uncharted frontier. So there is a lot of immense potential for us to utilize 5G technologies. To put it in a very simple manner, if we utilize 5G technology, we can monitor the climate situation, and we can connect consumers and the producers directly, and we can utilize drone technology. We can utilize 5G by spraying herbicide and pesticide, etc. So actually, the potential of 5G is enormous. So it really depends on how we develop our applied technologies.
But before the 5G, you already had other strategies that were important for innovation, right?
Yes. Korea doesn't have enough natural resources. We have relied on our science and technology and the human resources. Korea is not endowed with natural resources. Every year, around 4.5% of our GDP is invested in research and development in science and technology and innovation sector. So this percentage means that Korea is number one or number two in the world in terms of investment in science and technology.
An example about this is that you can produce all year long, even when it's too cold, right? Different from other countries that they don't have the technology for that. So Korea is an example like that.
Yes, you are right. Korea has 4 seasons, and then Brazil has only 2 seasons, dry and rainy seasons. Brazilian climate situation is very good for producing agricultural products, but Koreans are not. And because that, in order to overcome natural constraints, we tried to develop our agricultural technology, even during the winter, and we are producing summer or spring agricultural products. And then all the year round, we are producing all types of agricultural products. And then, this is partly because of the, thanks to the technology which are developed. Here in Brazil, there are very good agricultural institute agency, Embrapa. During the 1960s and 70s, even Brazil suffered from a shortage of domestic production of agricultural products. But thanks to the innovation carried out by the Embrapa, and this country now either number 1 or number 2 in the world in terms of agricultural products. So I hope that Korean agricultural sector could have very close and collaborative relations with your renowned agricultural institute. Up to now, the cooperation between NGRAPA and the Korean Rural Development Administration has continued. I hope this kind of collaboration could continue.
Talking about collaboration, how can we put more effort or open the markets for our producers? Is there a way that we can do that nowadays with the pandemic and after that?
I think that this pandemic situation will continue, even though we are now taking vaccines. From a global perspective, in order to overcome this pandemic, it will take time. So we should think of not to disrupt global food supply chain. So if pandemic affects labors and food supply chain, it will cause a problem. As I mentioned earlier, the quality of Brazilian agricultural products are very good. So in addition to the quality, if marketing accompanies if Brazilian agricultural products are known to the Korean customers, the sale and the market share will dramatically increase. Korean people are environmentally a little bit conscious. So using eco-labeling and then diversifying brand and then utilizing the e-commerce, all types of innovative methods could work in the Korean market. I think that Brazilian agricultural ministry is also developing a certain eco-mark for the Brazilian products. So if Brazilian agricultural products with eco-labeling or eco-mark certified by Brazilian Agriculture Ministry or in a form of by the civil community, and then the competitiveness of Brazilian products will increase.
You think our governments are trying to work to strengthen this? So
yes,
together.
Yes.
So it's possible that Brazil is going to be responsible for more than the 5% source, right?
Yes, definitely. And we, depending on how much efforts
yes,
could government together with agricultural community work together, and then the market share will increase.
You said about the effort, and there is a really nice example in your country about the food waste, a food waste program. Can you explain to us how it works? So it's an effort of everybody that lives there, right?
Yes.
How does it work?
Korea is a small country. Around 70% of country is covered mountainous. This means that there are not many places for waste to be reclaimed. So government, especially Ministry of Environment, encourage Korean people to minimize, reduce the waste before they are produced. When wastes are produced, and all the wastes are separated, and some wastes are recycled and reused, and some wastes are incinerated or landfilled. So this kind of a policy we are running, and then our policy is very strict. We are asking consumers not to use a plastic bag in the supermarket when they buy some groceries and then products, and the supermarket is not providing a plastic bag, and we are trying to promote zero plastic in the groceries and supermarket, etc. So plastic is really a big problem for the global community. But this kind of efforts should go hand in hand with consumers, together with under the direction of the government requirement.
And there are incentives and fines also, right?
Yes, both carrots and sticks should be used.
And how does that work? So we can use the example maybe.
In a case, normal Korean household, they should buy a garbage collection plastic bag. So it costs, even though the price is very small, it is symbolic, but it encouraged, facilitated housewives to minimize waste. A small stimulus could make a big difference. So we should think of innovative solution to reduce and then reduce waste.
And about biodiversity, you told me that there is a program of clean technology. How does that work?
Brazil is very rich in biodiversity, and then there is a concept of a bioeconomy. I think that many Brazilian ministries and research institutes, they are focusing on developing a bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is utilizing biomaterial together with bioengineering. This is a real solution to make a country to move into the sustainable development. The president of the Amazon Council, Vice President, mentioned during the World Economic Forum, he mentioned, touched upon bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is the real solution to make a great value for the Brazilian economy. So Korea is very well known in terms of bioengineering. If Korea and Brazil join hands in developing a bioeconomy, Korea could be a good partner for Brazilian bioeconomy.
And what about biofuel or other stuff like that that really are new and it should be used so we can have a better world, not a better country, a better world for everybody and for the future?
Flex system, which are used for the automobile fuel. Brazilian this system is very well known abroad. Very good example in utilizing bioeconomy. And then bioethanol is very good. And then from the environmental perspective, international community is urging each country to use biofuels. So, but in the case of Korea, we are, in terms of land size, we are small. We have no room to plant such kind of trees and sugar canes, etc. So maybe we can import biofuels and bioethanols from other countries. We are trying to increase, asking electricity generating companies to use environmentally sustainable electricity. We are asking them to make. So they are relying on renewable energies, solar and wind, etc. And the biofuel is also one of the options for them, for us to utilize.
Now, what about this year now, 2021? What are the expectations of your country, of your government after the pandemic?
At present, Korean government launched Korean New Deal. New Deal is the very well-known concept when after Second World War, in order to revive a European economy, Marshall Plan, and then during the Great Depression in the United States, New Deal was introduced. Korean New Deal consists of two components, Green New Deal and Digital New Deal. Green New Deal means that focusing on environmental aspects, utilizing the renewable energy, and then protecting environment, and then protecting climate change and etc. So investing a lot of money in the renewable energy sector. In the case of Digital New Deal, we talked about the 5G. 5G may be the backbone of the post-industrial revolution. So in addition to 5G, artificial intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things, and big data, cloud computing, and etc. All those things could be a part of Korean Digital New Deal. So we are preparing for this year and beyond this year by implementing Korean New Deal consisting of Green New Deal and Digital New Deal.
Now everything is really modern. What about the family agriculture and the organic production? Is there anything like that there? If you look at the Korean agricultural sector, only 2% of GDP comes from agricultural sector. Around 5% of populations are involved in agricultural sector. This means that Korean agricultural sector is a learning family-owned business or small farm production. So in order to overcome this constraint, Korean farmers trying to utilize e-commerce. So if distribution chains are too long, there will be waste in terms of productivity. So utilizing e-commerce platform, we are trying to make them meet at an internet platform. So producers and consumers, they can meet directly. So they are skipping intermediary supply chain. So even family producers have to use the technology.
Right,
so
right.
that's it. Now, what are the challenges that our countries have to deal together? Is there anything?
I think that the future of a Brazilian economy rests on the bioeconomy. So how to develop with a firm determination bioeconomy. This is a really important question. Korea, we established diplomatic relations in 1959. 2019, we celebrated 60th anniversary. In Korea, in the Asia, 60 years means one cycle. So we entered into a second cycle. So for the second cycle, Korea wants to be a good partner with Brazil, joining hands in hands.
Now tell me, in this partnership, there is something that you liked or did not like. What is different for you from your country? Now that you're here in Brazil, you told me that you tried jabuticaba, and you also tried, you didn't try, but you thought it was really different. The cacao was really different. Yeah. And there are a lot of stuff that is different from your country. How are you dealing with that, living here for 3 years now? And what did you expect, and how is it nowadays?
My first impression about this country since when I arrived in 2018. This country was a kind of a giant in terms of country size. As I traveled around the countryside, I noticed that the Brazilian people's acceptability or welcoming a gesture was great. And their characteristics are very warm and compared to other countries. I lived in many countries, but this country is really a very warm country for the foreigners. In Brasilia, there are many, more than 100 embassies and international organizations. During the diplomatic activities, I encountered them a lot. But there was one consensus that Brazil is a very nice country and the Brazilian people are very warm-hearted.
And what about Jabuticaba?
Jabuticaba, yes. In Korea, I couldn't see that kind of a tree. Jabuticaba, cocoa, cacao. These trees bear its fruit on its trunk. It was it opened my eyes to the new world.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Katiuscia. Thank you very much.
No Campo Diplomático de hoje, nós falamos sobre as relações comerciais do Brasil com a Coreia do Sul e a cooperação no agronegócio. Você pode rever este programa e também outras entrevistas no nosso canal no YouTube. Aproveite para seguir a gente nas redes sociais, @AgroMaisTV. Continue com a programação do AgroMais, seu canal voltado para o agronegócio 24 horas. Obrigada pela companhia. A gente se vê.